Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. Rhodey stared at the strange metallic capsule on his cluttered desk, its surface glinting under the San Francisco afternoon sun streaming through his apartment window. The object seemed to mock him, another precious treasure from his eccentric grandfather who had passed away last month. Great. Another mysterious piece of junk, he muttered, running his fingers through his disheveled dark hair. At 25, Rhodey had hoped to spend his Saturday debugging code for his startup, not dealing with more of his grandfather's peculiar collection. The capsule was about the size of a football, its surface etched with intricate symbols that seemed to shift and change when he wasn't looking directly at them. Unlike his grandfather's other artifacts, this one felt different, almost alive. His phone buzzed. Another message from his co-founder. "Where's the debug patch? Investors meeting Monday." Rhodey sighed, pushing back from his desk. The capsule rolled slightly, one of its symbols catching the light. Was it glowing? "Okay, that's new," he said, reaching for it. The moment his fingers touched the cool metal, the symbols erupted in brilliant blue light. The capsule split open with a soft hiss, releasing a shower of sparkling energy that coalesced into a human form. And there she stood, a woman unlike any he'd ever seen. Her skin was a deep, mesmerizing blue that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Dark hair cascaded down her shoulders in waves that defied gravity. Her features were perfectly proportioned, almost too perfect to be human. She was dressed in what appeared to be a form-fitting suit made of flowing silver material. "Holy shit," Rhodey breathed, nearly falling out of his chair. "So that's what alien girls look like." The woman's lips curved into an amused smile. "I'm Mira," she said, her voice carrying an otherworldly musical quality. "And you must be Alexander Roderick Chen, grandson of James Chen." "Just Rhodey," he managed, still staring. Are you really an alien?" "Yes, though I prefer the term interstellar being," she said, gracefully examining his cramped apartment. Her eyes lingered on his collection of sci-fi movie posters. "How interesting. Your species has imagined us in many ways, but rarely accurately." Rhodey found himself standing, his programmer's mind trying to process the impossible situation. "So my grandfather's capsule, it's some kind of interdimensional portal?" "More than that," Mira said, turning to face him. Her eyes glowed with an inner light that made his heart skip. "It's a key, a bridge between worlds. Your grandfather was its guardian, as were many before him." "Guardian?" "My grandfather was a retired history professor who collected weird artifacts and told crazy stories about—" Rhodey's voice trailed off as realization hit. "Wait, those stories were true?" Mira moved closer, and Rhodey caught a subtle fragrance like nothing on Earth, sweet yet alien. "Every one of them. The capsule has been guiding humanity for millennia, choosing specific individuals to receive its power. Julius Caesar, Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein. Each was granted one wish, one chance to alter the course of human history. And now it's mine." Rhodey's voice cracked slightly. "You are the last," Mira said, her expression growing serious. "Each use of the capsule has weakened the connection between our worlds. This is the final time it can be opened." Rhodey slumped back into his chair, mind reeling. "So, no pressure, right? Just the fate of human civilization resting on whatever wish I make?" "Not just human civilization," Mira corrected, perching on the edge of his desk. The movement was so fluid it seemed almost supernatural. "My world depends on this choice as well." "Great. Perfect. Exactly what I needed today along with my debugging deadline," Rhodey muttered. Then a thought struck him. "Wait, what kind of wishes did the others make? I mean, what are we talking about here? World peace, unlimited energy." Mira's expression softened. Each wish was focused, specific. Caesar wished for the strength to unite Rome. Da Vinci for the vision to see beyond his time. Einstein for understanding of the universe's deepest laws. And they all, what? Just trusted a mysterious alien artifact and its gorgeous blue messenger? Mira's skin darkened slightly. Was she blushing? They understood the gravity of their choice, as must you. Rhodey stood and paced, his mind racing. Okay. Let me get this straight. I'm supposed to make some world-changing wish that will affect both our civilizations, but I've got no idea what the consequences might be. And this is our last shot at whatever this is? Essentially, yes, Mira said, watching him with those luminous eyes. And why me? Because my grandfather collected weird stuff. The capsule chooses its guardians carefully. Your grandfather saw something in you, something beyond your current circumstances. She glanced meaningfully at his cluttered desk and the half-empty energy drink cans. Yeah, well, Grandpa also thought his garden gnomes were secretly alive, so maybe not the best judge of character, Rhodey quipped, then immediately felt guilty. Sorry, this is a lot to process. Mira stood and approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her touch sent a tingling sensation through his body. You have time to consider your choice, but not too much time. The connection grows weaker with each passing moment. Rhodey looked into her eyes, finding himself drawn into their depths. A crazy thought began forming in his mind. These wishes, they have to be about changing the world, advancing civilization. They must be significant, yes. Why do you ask? A grin spread across his face. Because I think I might have an idea that breaks all the rules. Mira tilted her head, her luminous eyes narrowing. Breaking rules has consequences, Rhodey. Our worlds hang in the balance. Exactly. He spun his chair around, energy suddenly coursing through him. Everyone before me tried to change the world in these huge, dramatic ways. But what if that's exactly why the connection between our worlds keeps weakening? His fingers flew across his keyboard, pulling up historical data. Look, each major wish created massive change, right? But it's like forcing an update without testing the code first. You get bugs, system crashes. Are you comparing the fate of civilizations to your computer programs? Mira asked, amusement coloring her musical voice. Well, yeah, because maybe. He turned to face her, suddenly serious. Maybe what we need isn't another world-changing wish. Maybe we need to understand each other first. The light in Mira's eyes flickered, interest evident in her expression. Go on. What if my wish was simpler? What if instead of trying to change everything at once, I wished to explore and learn with you? The last words came out softer than he intended, and he felt heat rise to his cheeks. Mira's skin rippled with subtle patterns of darker blue, definitely a blush this time. You would use humanity's last wish for research? For understanding, Rhodey corrected, standing up. Look, every sci-fi story talks about first contact going horrible wrong because we rush into things. But we have this chance to do it right, to really learn about each other's worlds. He stepped closer to her, noticing how the afternoon light played across her azure skin. Besides, you can't tell me you're not at least a little curious about Earth. I saw how you were looking at those posters. A smile tugged at Mira's lips. Your entertainment media does have interesting interpretations of extraterrestrial life. See? And that's just the start. You could show me your world, I could show you mine. We could figure out why the connection is really failing and maybe find a better solution than just one big wish. Mira was quiet for a long moment, studying him with an intensity that made him feel like she was seeing straight through to his soul. Finally, she spoke. In all the cycles of the capsule's existence, no one has ever proposed such a wish. Is that a no? It's Intriguing. She moved to the window, gazing out at the San Francisco skyline. Your grandfather often spoke of your unconventional thinking. He said you could see patterns others missed. Rhodey joined her at the window. He talked about me. He was proud of you, even when you chose programming over history. Funny way of showing it, Rhodey muttered, remembering their last argument. He said I was wasting my potential writing code instead of studying the past. Perhaps he knew your future held something different. Mira turned to face him, and Rhodey suddenly realized how close they were standing. Your wish would be dangerous. The capsule's power is limited. Each journey would further strain the connection between worlds. But it would be worth it, wouldn't it? To really understand what we're trying to save? The capsule on his desk pulsed with soft light, as if responding to their conversation. Mira reached out and traced one of the symbols with a delicate finger. There would be rules, limitations, and no guarantee of success. Story of my life, Rhodey grinned. So, is that a yes? Before Mira could answer, Rhodey's phone buzzed again. The investor meeting reminder flashed on screen. Reality crashed back in. Shit. I have actual real-world responsibilities. A startup that's counting on me. I can't just... He ran his hands through his hair in frustration. Time moves differently when traveling with the capsule, Mira offered. We could explore for months and return to this moment if you wished. Rhodey's eyes widened. Okay, that's both awesome and terrifying. Any other major details I should know about before making this crazy decision? Mira's expression grew serious again. Only that once the wish is made, there's no turning back. And there are others who have sought the capsule's power throughout history. Not all of them had noble intentions. Others? Like who? A shadow passed across Mira's face. That is part of what you would need to learn. Are you certain this is the wish you want to make? Rhodey looked around his apartment, at his comfortable, predictable life with its coding challenges and startup dreams. Then he looked at Mira, at the mystery and adventure she represented. You know what? I am. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the capsule. I wish to explore the universe with you, to learn the truth about our worlds and find a way to save them both. The capsule's symbols blazed with brilliant light. Mira's eyes widened in surprise. Or was it concern? The room began to fade around them as the capsule's energy enveloped them both. Your wish is granted, Mira whispered, taking his hand. And may the stars help us all. The last thing Rhodey saw before reality dissolved was his phone screen, the investor meeting notification fading into nothingness. Whatever happened next, there would be no turning back. The world rematerialized around them in a cascade of starlight. Rhodey's programmer brain struggled to process the transformation. His cluttered San Francisco apartment had become something else entirely. They stood in what appeared to be a vast crystalline chamber. The walls shimmered with living light, displaying real-time star maps and streams of alien data. The capsule had transformed too, expanding into an elegant control center with floating holographic interfaces. Welcome to the Nexus, Mira said, her hand still in his. The space between spaces. Holy, this is incredible. Rhodey spun around, taking it all in. Is this your technology, your world? Not exactly. The Nexus exists outside normal space-time. It's a remnant of the ancient ones who created the capsule. Mira moved to one of the interfaces, her fingers dancing through the light. From here, we can access any point in Earth's timeline or travel to my world. Rhodey followed her, fascinated by the alien symbols flowing through the air. These look like the ones on the capsule, but they're moving, changing. It's a living language, Mira explained. It adapts to the observer's understanding. Watch. As she spoke, some of the symbols began morphing into recognizable patterns. Rhodey saw mathematical equations, programming algorithms and historical dates weaving together in impossible ways. That's quantum mechanics mixed with ancient Sanskrit. He reached out to touch one of the floating equations. And is that binary code? The language shows you what you're ready to understand. Mira's eyes sparkled with amusement. Though I'm impressed you can recognize so much already. Let's just say I spent a lot of time studying weird patterns instead of socializing, Rhodey quipped, then froze as a particular sequence caught his eye. Wait, are these coordinates? Timestamps? Yes, each represents a moment where the capsule influenced Earth's history. Mira's expression grew thoughtful. Where would you like to begin our exploration? Before Rhodey could answer, an alarm pierced the crystalline silence. Red symbols flashed urgently across the walls. That's not good, is it? Rhodey asked, watching Mira's face pale to a lighter shade of blue. We're being tracked, she said, her fingers flying over the interfaces. Someone else has detected the capsule's activation. Those others you mentioned? The not-so-noble ones? A deep boom echoed through the nexus. The star maps flickered. We need to move, now. Mira grabbed his hand again. Your first lesson in interdimensional travel is about to be a crash course. Wait, shouldn't we discuss this first? Maybe make a plan, or... The nexus dissolved around them in a flash of light. Rhodey felt reality twist, stretch, and snap like an overloaded server finally crashing. Some safety protocols, he finished lamely, as they materialized in what appeared to be Renaissance Italy. The narrow cobblestone street was filled with period-dressed people who seemed completely unfazed by their sudden appearance. The air smelled of bread and leather and things Rhodey didn't want to identify. How are they not freaking out about us just appearing? He whispered to Mira. And why does my head feel like it's been through a blender? Temporal displacement shield, Mira answered, quickly pulling him into a shadowy doorway. We're slightly out of phase with this timeline, and the headache is normal for first-time jumps. Great, good to know. And those people chasing us? The collectors. They've been hunting the capsule since its creation. They believe its power should be used for different purposes. Different bad purposes, I'm guessing. A crash of thunder split the sky, except it wasn't thunder. Above the Renaissance skyline, a dark shape was forming. Very bad purposes, Mira confirmed. We need to keep moving. The good news is, you wanted to learn about the capsule's history. We're about to meet one of its most famous users. Let me guess, Da Vinci? Mira's answering smile was both thrilling and terrifying. Hope you paid attention in art history class. The dark shape in the sky grew larger, and screams finally began to rise from the crowd. Rhodey looked at Mira, at the impossible situation he'd wished himself into, and made a decision. Okay, beautiful alien tour guide, he said, squeezing her hand. Show me how to save both our worlds. The adventure was just beginning, and Rhodey had a feeling his debugging deadline wasn't going to be the biggest challenge he faced today. Quick history lesson, Mira said as they hurried through Florence's winding streets. Da Vinci received the capsule in 1490. It granted him visions of future technology, but some of his most advanced designs were never published. Rhodey finished, his inner history geek emerging. Grandpa used to talk about missing pages from his notebooks. Above them, the dark shape materialized into what looked like a cross between a steampunk airship and a black hole. Renaissance Florentines pointed and crossed themselves. The collectors, Mira explained, pulling him into a narrow alley. They're temporal scavengers. They've been trying to gather all instances of the capsule throughout time. Wait, instances? There's more than one. It's the same capsule, existing at different points in time, and if they collect enough instances, they could overload the connection between worlds, Rhodey realized, like a buffer overflow attack, but with reality. A beam of dark energy struck the cobblestones where they'd been standing moments before. Mira pressed closer to him in the shadows, her body surprisingly warm against his. Rhodey tried very hard to focus on the imminent danger rather than how good she smelled. "Leonardo's workshop is 3 streets over," she whispered. "We need to warn him. About the time-traveling bad guys with the Death Star. About what his research will unleash." Her eyes met his, serious despite their glow. Some of his designs weren't meant for humanity yet. The collectors used them to build their temporal technology. Another explosion rocked the street. This time, armored figures emerged from the smoke, their suits a nightmare fusion of Renaissance craftsmanship and advanced technology. "Speaking of technology that shouldn't exist yet," Rhodey muttered, "please tell me you have some alien superpowers we can use right about now." Mira's skin rippled with patterns of darker blue, what Rhodey was starting to recognize as her version of a smile. She pulled something from her suit that looked like a silvery pen. "The capsule provides what we need," she said, twisting the device. It expanded into a glowing staff. "But I believe your Earth expression is run." They sprinted through the streets, Mira occasionally spinning her staff to deflect energy blasts. Rhodey was grateful for all those hours at the gym he'd used to avoid social interaction. They rounded a corner and found themselves facing a familiar building from every history book, Da Vinci's workshop. And in the doorway stood the man himself, looking remarkably like his self-portraits. "Ah," Leonardo said in Italian, which Rhodey somehow understood perfectly now. "The next bearers arrive, right on schedule." "You knew we were coming?" Rhodey asked, ducking as another blast scorched the air above them. "The capsule shows many things," Leonardo smiled, ushering them inside, including a young man who would choose understanding over power. The workshop was a maze of half-finished inventions, anatomical drawings and devices that looked centuries ahead of their time. In the center sat another capsule, identical to the one Rhodey had inherited. "2 capsules in the same time period," Mira breathed. "This is dangerous." "Necessary," Leonardo corrected, closing heavy wooden shutters as explosions continued outside. Young Roderick must see what the capsule truly is. "It's Rhodey," he corrected automatically, then froze. "Wait, how do you know my name?" Leonardo's eyes twinkled. "The same way I know the lovely Mira's true purpose here. The capsule doesn't just show the future, it shows all possible futures." Mira's grip on her staff tightened. "Leonardo, we can't—" The workshop's door exploded inward. Collector troops poured through the opening, their Baroque armor housing deadly modern weapons. "The capsules," their leader demanded through a metallic mask. "Surrender them, and your deaths will be quick." "Yeah, that's not happening," Rhodey said, surprising himself with his own bravado. He grabbed Leonardo's capsule from its stand. "Mira, please tell me you know how to use 2 of these things at once." She stared at him, patterns of shock rippling across her skin. "It's never been done. It could tear reality apart." "Reality's already pretty torn," he pointed out as the collectors advanced. "What's the worst that could happen?" "The complete collapse of both our dimensions? Still better than their plan." Rhodey held out the second capsule to her. "Do you trust me?" The moment stretched like code stuck in an infinite loop. Then Mira smiled, a real bright smile that lit up her entire being. "Stars help me," she said, taking the capsule. "But I do." Leonardo raised his hands as both capsules began to glow. "And so it begins." The world exploded in light. The universe shattered and reformed around them like fractured code rewriting itself. Rhodey felt his consciousness stretch across multiple timelines, each one a possible branch of reality. "Hold on!" Mira's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. Their hands were still clasped, the twin capsules pulsing between them. Through the kaleidoscope of breaking reality, Rhodey glimpsed countless versions of history. Leonardo's workshop expanding into a steampunk empire, the Renaissance transforming into a technological golden age centuries too early, civilizations rising and falling in seconds. "Too much power," one of the collectors shouted. "They'll collapse the timeline." "That's actually not a bad idea," Rhodey managed through gritted teeth. The programmer in him saw the pattern. A deliberate system crashed to reset the game. "Mira, if we overload them, we could create a temporal feedback loop," she finished, her blue skin now glowing with streams of data. "But we'd need an anchor point, something to pull us back." Leonardo stepped forward, his form shifting between artist and inventor, sage and scientist. "Perhaps that is why I was shown your arrival." He placed his hands on both capsules. "Let me be your constant." The collectors raised their weapons, but too late. Reality buckled as 3 points in time connected past, present, and something else, something beyond normal space-time. "This is going to hurt, isn't it?" Rhodey quipped. Mira's answering laugh somehow cut through the chaos. "Always making jokes in the face of dimensional collapse? Well, you know what they say about dying with humor." The universe imploded, then exploded, then did something entirely new. When Rhodey's vision cleared, they were standing in a space that defied description. It was like being inside a living computer program, if that program was written by ancient aliens with a flair for the dramatic. "The source," Mira whispered, her eyes wide. "The origin point of the capsule." The collectors were there too, their armor stripped away to reveal nothing. They were empty shells, animated by stolen technology. "Okay, that's creepy," Rhodey muttered. "Please tell me we didn't just make things worse." "On the contrary," Leonardo said, now appearing as both his young and old self simultaneously. "You've found what I could only glimpse, the truth behind the capsule's purpose." The space around them shifted, revealing what looked like a vast alien laboratory. Holographic displays showed Earth's history, but with certain moments highlighted, moments where the capsule had appeared. It was never about granting wishes, Mira realized, patterns of understanding flowing across her skin. The capsule was collecting data, learning about humanity. "For what?" Rhodey asked, though part of him already knew the answer. Before anyone could respond, a new presence entered the space. It felt ancient, vast, and surprisingly familiar. "To determine if humanity was ready," the presence said, its voice resonating in their minds, ready for the truth about their place in the universe. Rhodey looked at Mira, saw the recognition in her eyes. "Your people. The architects," she confirmed. "The ones who seeded both our worlds with life, who created the capsule as a test." "A test humanity has finally passed," the presence added, "thanks to one who chose understanding over power." "No pressure or anything," Rhodey muttered, then straightened. "But what about the connection between our worlds, the weakening barrier?" "Look closer at your codes, programmer," Leonardo suggested, gesturing to the floating displays. "What do you see?" Rhodey studied the streams of data, the patterns suddenly clicking. "It's not weakening. It's evolving. The capsule wasn't breaking the connection. It was upgrading it." The empty collector shells began to dissolve, their stolen technology returning to its proper time. Each wish, each interaction added to the program, Mira explained, her hand finding his again. "And your wish to understand rather than change completed the sequence," the presence finished. "Now, Alexander Roderick Chen, are you ready to see what lies beyond your world's horizons?" Rhodey looked at Mira, her blue skin glowing with inner light and what he hoped was affection. "Will you be my tour guide?" Her answering smile was brighter than any star. "Someone has to keep you from making bad jokes at serious moments." "Then I say bring it on," Rhodey declared. Show me everything. The source began to pulse with new energy as Leonardo smiled knowingly. And so begins humanity's next great adventure. Reality shifted once more, but this time with purpose, carrying them toward whatever wonders or dangers awaited in the vast unknown. The crystalline halls of the source morphed into something more organic, a living ship crafted from light and thought. Streams of data flowed through translucent walls, telling the story of two civilizations destined to meet. "So let me get this straight," Rhodey said, watching alien stars drift past impossible windows. "Your people created both our civilizations as some kind of cosmic science experiment?" "More like parallel evolution studies," Mira corrected, her fingers dancing through holographic controls. Her formal demeanor had relaxed somewhat, though she still carried herself with alien grace. "Earth was left to develop naturally, while my world was given guidance. And the capsule was what? A cosmic progress report? Among other things." She glanced at him, a now familiar ripple of amusement crossing her skin. "Though I doubt the architects expected their test subject to flirt with their observer." Rhodey felt his face heat. "Was I that obvious?" "So that's what alien girls look like," wasn't exactly subtle. Before he could formulate a suitably witty response, the ship's sensors chimed. A new set of coordinates materialized in the air between them. "Your first real choice," Mira said, suddenly serious. "We can visit my world, see the path humanity might have taken. Or, we can investigate something the capsule just detected, an anomaly in Earth's timeline, something that shouldn't exist." Rhodey studied the floating data, his programmer's instincts tingling. Like leftover collector technology? Possibly. The temporal collapse scattered their stolen artifacts across history, in the wrong hands. "They could still mess up both our worlds," Rhodey finished. He sighed dramatically. "I don't suppose we could flip a cosmic coin." Mira's skin flickered with patterns he was beginning to recognize as laughter. "Always trying to randomize the difficult choices?" "Hey, it works in debugging." He stepped closer to her, noticing how the starlight played across her features. "But I guess, since I wished for understanding, we should probably handle the dangerous time-traveling tech first." A wise choice. Was it his imagination, or did she move slightly closer too? "Though I must warn you, temporal cleanup can be dangerous, potentially catastrophic, likely to end in running for our lives." "I was going to say interesting, but those work too." The ship hummed, responding to their decision. New data streams appeared showing their destination, London, 1888. "Oh, great," Rhodey muttered. "Please tell me we're not dealing with who I think we're dealing with." Mira's expression grew concerned. "The capsule's reading suggests someone has given Victorian England technology centuries ahead of its time, and they're using it for murder," Rhodey finished grimly. "Jack the Ripper wasn't just a serial killer, was he?" "No, he was something much worse." Mira's hand found his, ready to rewrite one of history's darkest chapters. Rhodey squeezed her fingers, trying not to focus on how perfectly they fit together. "Will it involve running through foggy streets, confronting dangerous criminals, and possibly breaking several laws of physics?" "Most likely." "Then what are we waiting for?" He grinned. "Show me how to be a time-traveling hero, beautiful alien mentor." Mira's skin flushed a deeper blue, but she was smiling too. "Just try not to make any more obvious observations about alien anatomy when we're chasing temporal criminals." "No promises." "Your blush is kind of adorable." The ship shimmered, preparing for temporal insertion. As Victorian London materialized around them, Rhodey couldn't help thinking that of all the wishes he could have made, choosing understanding and Mira might have been his best debug yet. Now they just had to catch history's most notorious killer before he used future tech to change the past. No pressure. After weeks of temporal chasing, from Victorian London to ancient Egypt, from Renaissance Italy's secret tech chambers to the hidden laboratories of Tesla, Rhodey and Mira finally stood at what felt like an ending. The source chamber pulsed with accumulated knowledge, streams of corrected timelines flowing through its crystalline walls. "Hard to believe it's only been a month in real time," Rhodey said, watching the patterns of history realign. His relationship with Mira had grown with each adventure, moving from awkward flirtation to something deeper. "Time is relative," Mira replied, her blue skin glowing with the familiar patterns he'd come to adore. She stood closer than strictly necessary, their shoulders touching. "Especially when you're rewriting it." "Is that an Einstein joke? Because I'm pretty sure we met him last week." "Actually, that was next week. Temporal mechanics, remember?" Their laughter echoed through the chamber, but there was an undercurrent of tension. They both knew what came next. The architect's presence manifested around them, less overwhelming now that they understood its nature. "The timeline has been secured. The collector's technology has been removed from history's critical points." "And my civilization?" Mira asked, her hand finding Rhodey's. "The connection between our worlds?" "Strengthened, thanks to your unprecedented cooperation." The presence seemed almost amused, though perhaps not in the way we anticipated. Rhodey felt Mira's fingers tighten around his. "So what happens now? Do we just go back to our separate worlds? Pretend none of this happened?" "That would be the traditional protocol," the presence acknowledged. "The test is complete. The barriers between worlds should be restored." "But," Mira prompted, hope coloring her voice, "but never in all our observations has a test subject made the wish you did, Roderick Chen. You chose understanding over power, connection over control." The chamber filled with swirling images of their adventures together. "And in doing so, you may have discovered something we ourselves missed." "The true purpose of the capsule," Mira breathed. "It wasn't just about testing humanity's readiness. It was about bringing our worlds together," Rhodey finished. "Not through some grand wish or cosmic change, but through understanding, through connection." Mira turned to face him fully, her eyes glowing with emotion. "Through love." The presence rippled with what might have been approval. "The barriers between worlds need not be walls. They can be bridges if built with wisdom and understanding." "Are you saying?" Rhodey started. "We are offering you both a choice," the presence said. "Continue your work together. Be the bridge between worlds. Show others the path you've discovered." "As temporal troubleshooters?" Rhodey grinned. "Solving cosmic crimes across space and time." "With occasional breaks for cultural exchange," Mira added, her skin rippling with that blush he loved so much. "And perhaps," the presence suggested, "for finding out what else looks different on alien girls?" "Oh God, you're never going to let me live that first comment down, are you?" Mira's laugh was like starlight. "Not in this timeline or any other." The source chamber began to shift, offering them glimpses of new adventures, new mysteries to solve, new worlds to bridge. But Rhodey found himself focused only on Mira's face, on the future in her eyes. "So," he said softly, "partners?" Her answer was to pull him close and kiss him, her lips surprisingly warm and familiar despite their alien nature. Around them, the universe seemed to hold its breath, waiting for whatever came next. When they finally parted, Rhodey couldn't help himself. "So that's what kissing alien girls is like." Mira groaned, but she was smiling. "Just for that, you're buying dinner in whatever century we visit next." The presence began to fade, leaving them with their ship, their mission, and each other. The capsule that started it all had transformed into something new, not just a key between worlds, but a promise of adventures to come. "Ready to save the universe?" Mira asked, her hand extended. Rhodey took it without hesitation. "With you? Always." The ship hummed to life around them, ready to carry them into whatever mystery awaited. Because sometimes the greatest power isn't in changing the world, but in finding someone to explore it with. 6 months later, Earth time. The San Francisco apartment looked exactly as Rhodey had left it, right down to the investor meeting notification still blinking on his phone screen. Time travel had its perks. "Still can't believe we can just pop back here between missions," he said, watching Mira materialize beside him. Her blue skin seemed to glow in the familiar surroundings, making his heart skip just like it had on that first day. "The architects were quite generous with our temporal privileges," she replied, settling onto his couch with practiced ease. "Though I'm not sure they anticipated us using them for date nights on Earth. Hey, you loved that restaurant in 2157. The anti-gravity sushi was interesting," she admitted, pulling him down beside her. "Though not as interesting as explaining to the waiter why my skin keeps changing patterns when you make me laugh." Rhodey grinned, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. In the months since their first adventure, they'd settled into a comfortable rhythm, saving timelines by day, exploring their relationship by night, though day and night became relative concepts when you could visit any point in history. The capsule-turned ship hummed quietly in its pocket dimension, ready for their next mission. They'd already prevented 3 temporal disasters, introduced 2 civilizations to peaceful first contact, and somehow managed to teach Shakespeare about memes without destroying the literary timeline. "Any word on that temporal anomaly in ancient Rome?" Rhodey asked, though he was more focused on how Mira's hair seemed to defy gravity when she was relaxed. It can wait," she murmured, snuggling closer. "I'm currently conducting important cultural research." "Oh? And what's that?" "Testing the hypothesis that human Netflix and alien chill is a viable cross-species activity." Rhodey laughed, the sound mixing with her musical giggle. "For science, of course." "Of course." She lifted her face to his, those luminous eyes sparkling, "though I might need multiple trials to confirm my findings." "Well, we do have all the time in the universe." Their kiss was interrupted by a soft chime from the ship, another temporal alert requiring their attention, but neither of them moved immediately to answer it. "The universe can wait 5 minutes," Mira whispered against his lips. "Or 5 hours, Rhodey suggested. "We can always go back in time if we need to." The alert chimed again, more insistently this time. Mira sighed, but she was smiling. "Duty calls, my time-traveling love." "Fine." Rhodey stood, pulling her up with him. "But next date night, we're visiting that zero-gravity beach resort you mentioned. I still need to conduct thorough research on alien swimwear." "Always the scientist," she teased, her skin rippling with that beautiful blush. As they stepped into their ship, ready for whatever cosmic mystery awaited, Rhodey couldn't help thinking that, of all the wishes ever granted by the capsule, his simple desire to understand had given him something far greater than power or knowledge. It had given him a future worth exploring and someone extraordinary to explore it with. "Ready for another adventure?" Mira asked, her hand finding his at the controls. "With you, I'm ready for infinity." The ship shimmed to life, carrying them into their next chapter. Because sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't found in time travel or alien technology, but in the spaces between hearts, human and alien alike. The end, or perhaps just the beginning. Hey there, time-traveling romance enthusiasts. If you've made it this far, you've just witnessed what happens when a socially awkward programmer meets a blue-skinned alien beauty and somehow doesn't completely mess it up. I'd like to think somewhere in the multiverse, Rhodey is still making inappropriate comments about alien anatomy while Mira pretends not to find it charming. For those wondering about the feasibility of human-alien relationships, well, let's just say the universe has a way of making things work when two people can't keep their eyes, or in Mira's case, bioluminescent optical sensors, off each other. Special thanks to everyone who stuck around through temporal paradoxes, Victorian murder mysteries, and enough romantic tension to power a small starship. Your willingness to believe that love can transcend species, physics, and really bad first impressions makes all this possible. And remember, if you ever find a mysterious capsule in your inheritance, maybe lead with a better pickup line than, "So that's what alien girls look like. Catch you in another timeline."